The Galien Foundation fosters, recognizes, and rewards excellence in scientific innovation to improve the human condition.
André Malraux said once in one of his novels, "Une vie humaine ne vaut rien, mais rien ne vaut une vie humaine." Human life is worth nothing, but nothing is worth a human life. All these men and women are trying to save human lives. Is there anything more noble than that?
The Galien Awards ceremony is considered the equivalent of the Oscars night for the innovators in the labs and awards every year Best Pharmaceutical Product, Best Biotechnology Product, Best Product for Orphan Rare Diseases, Best Medical Technology, Best Digital Health Solution, Best Incubator Accelerator Equity, Best Startup. Around the globe, the Prix Galien is considered as the equivalent of the Nobel Prize for the industry, mobilizing an unrivaled network of Nobel laureates and top biomedical scientists. The Galien Foundation manages an independent, cross-functional, and geographically diverse program of events and sponsorship to brand the best of the best in new medicines and diagnostics. The Prix Galien is a welcome initiative to stimulate creative research and promote excellence. Barack Obama. The Roy Vagelos Pro Bono Humanum Award for Global Health Equity is bestowed to an individual, a company, an academic institution, or a non-governmental agency that has helped to improve the human condition through the application of biopharmaceutical science to problems of developing or underserved populations worldwide.
This is the right event, on the right issue, at the right time.
Staging this event in Africa is a significant statement that science and innovation are needed as much here in Africa as anywhere else.
I'm particularly grateful to receive this award.
The awards are among the highest honors in science and commerce because they lead to improvement in the human condition.
The Prix Galien Awards recognize the world's brightest minds and most innovative companies. They are a true celebration of the hard work required to produce life-changing interventions.
That is what makes us optimistic about the future.
Congratulations to all of you.
Make a difference. Join the Galien Foundation.
Well, good morning. It is such a pleasure. My name is Dr. Marianne Risk, and I have the prestige honor of kicking off the Galien Week of Innovation. The Galien Foundation, as you know, is a week of innovation that brings together leaders all across the industry to recognize excellence serving humanity. I have been a servant in this industry for over 20 years, either leveraging digital health technologies, scaling them, or identifying strategic partners. And one of the pressing matters that we have today is really imagining a world where every human can access the right treatment for their unique condition in any environment at the right time. And we're in an opportunity where we have digital health tools, whether they're wearables, sensors, really around driving ubiquitous access, collecting data around the clock, and leveraging real-time analytics. What you're going to be hearing from each of the speakers today is really how they revolutionize those insights to really create an empowerment of knowledge around treating a illness or being able to create a signal for transformation. As many of you may have seen, this summer, the FDA released a new guidance on AI and ML in drug development. The EMEA have approved strides in velocity captured by wearables and accepting data as a primary endpoint. This rise of digital health technologies has revolutionized drug development, and we're living through the most exciting digital biomarker and clinical outcome revolution in life sciences. And with that, I would love to start and begin today's session. We have a myriad of speakers. This is the history within the Galien, where we have received over 24 finalists for the Galien Foundation for Digital Health, of which we've had to put together 2 webinars. And so today's focus is creating a definition of disease management, how we're able to, with technology, with AI, with ML, be able to revolutionize how these digital tools are driving better outcomes for patients, whether they're driving operational excellence to reduce costs, but most importantly, improving our outcomes for patients and overall the health systems. And no better time to talk about this in terms of, you'll hear not only each and every speaker discuss their why, but you're going to hear about the outcomes. You're going to hear about how they've made an impact. And I think the most important thing for all of us is how we'll be leaving here inspired to innovate in our respective areas. And so with that, I will kick it off for the first question. By the way, for all the speakers, you're welcome to submit questions throughout. We will allocate Q&A at the end and be able to accommodate your questions. So first question for my panelists. Why did your company choose to focus on a particular disease state? What indication was that defined, so that when you've put together your digital technology, how was it able to create either a therapeutic breakthrough or solve an unmet medical need? And so with that, I will position the first question to Matthew, please.
Yeah, thank you, Marianne, for the question. I'm Matthew Leclerc, the CEO of Therapixel. Therapixel uses AI for breast cancer detection. The reason why we choose this focus is because breast cancer is the most common cancer for women. And unfortunately, despite a lot of good programs to detect this cancer, it's not good enough. We know that breast cancer can be cured if caught on time, but the problem is not caught on time. And it's because there's not enough radiologists. The American College of Radiology estimates there's 34,000 radiologists missing at present. These radiologists are 45 to 50% of the time in burnout. And the consequence is that the exams are not read timely. It's an average 10 days before you get your results. And on top of that, about 40% of cancers that are visible on the exam are missed. So with all that in mind, we decided to change the paradigm and help with an AI that could assist the radiologist in this reading. And the consequence is that we can catch 40% of cancers a year earlier, and we can save about 50% of the radiologist's time, so they can concentrate on the most complicated cases and read through the easier cases faster.
Outstanding. Thank you for your service. For all the women out there, we thank you, and loved ones. The next question, I would love to ask Ms. Mitty to also share her why in terms of her impact of what she's driving innovation towards.
Yeah, hi, my name is Mette Deiberg. I'm the CEO and founder of MyMe. This started out as a very personal journey. I am healthier now in my 40s than I was in my 20s and 30s. And MyMe is really the first autoimmune care solution to, sorry, I have a baby that is not happy right now. Can we just take someone else and I'll go back?
Happy to. Maybe I can go to Ms.
Well, you know what? I guess I can actually continue. He just wanted to be on the screen. So we're the first autoimmune care solution to really address the gap in autoimmune care. And we're the first clinically validated autoimmune care solution to address the inadequate response to biologic targeted therapies. An average of 40% are adherent non-responders. And I looked up the other day that there was 719 adherence companies, and there's only one tapering company. So we are essentially helping people like myself that are non-responders to the biologic targeted therapies. And I'm happy to say that by applying process optimization to my own body, I'm in a position that in first try, got a baby at 47. So we know it works, and we've been able to prove clinically that we can reduce autoimmune symptoms in over 90% of the population.
Outstanding. Outstanding. And I think this really creates the ability for patients to be much more confident and understanding that awareness. And thank you for the innovation that you're leaving an imprint on the blueprint of life sciences.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Next, may I ask Dr. Dennis to also share?
Sure, I'm Dennis Wall. I'm the Chief Science Officer for Cognoa. We built Canvas DX because there are millions of children who are diagnosed with autism too late and missing opportunities to benefit from therapeutic intervention that can reverse their symptoms and achieve an optimal outcome for them where they no longer qualify for an autism diagnosis. The average age of diagnosis in the United States has stubbornly hovered close to 5. And with Canvas DX, an artificial intelligence-based system that's approved by the FDA, we can reduce that by at least 2 years. And it's showing that there's a great deal of promise to utilize this system, not only to detect children early, but to get them on those early intervention services as soon as possible so that they can benefit from the behavioral therapies that we know can change their lives for the better. So that's the why. 1 in 4 kids have a risk for an autism diagnosis. 1 in 6 have a developmental delay. 1 in 36 kids will receive a diagnosis. This is a prevalent condition. And the future of all of science and innovation is our children. So pediatric health can really benefit the future for future generations, and it matters most.
I couldn't agree more. So especially if some of the statistics that you're mentioning of the rise of this condition, I think more innovative ways of signal detection, early diagnosis, as well as being able to treat is a revolutionary outcome. Thank you, Dennis. I'd love to move over to Rebecca. I know that you've got some things to share at Avid and some of the innovations and many awards that you have been recognized for some of the digital health tools that you're bringing today.
Sure. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Rebecca Wilkins, and I'm the DVP of R&D for Abbott Neuromodulation. We developed our NeuroSphere virtual clinic because we saw a significant unmet need in how patients interacted with their physicians and got new treatment without stepping foot in a doctor's office. So just as a little background, Abbott Neuromodulation focuses on helping people with chronic diseases. So we help people with chronic pain and motion disorders such as Parkinson's disease. And our devices are implanted in the patient's body, and we stimulate selective areas of the body and brain to help stop tremors or interrupt pain signals. These conditions often require patients to travel long distances to specialized physicians, often in large cities. And we know that on average, our patients travel sometimes up to 150 miles to get treatment. That can be very difficult for Parkinson's patients that are mobility impaired and rely on a caregiver to get them places. For some of these appointments, they have to be off their medication. So it's a very uncomfortable process to go in and receive treatment and adjustments to their therapy of their implant. And so what that means is sometimes patients aren't compliant and they're not getting the care they need. And it's just really a burden to the patient. So we started this work before the pandemic, but actually accelerated it when all of society kind of had to stay in, couldn't go see a physician. And this is an elective type of therapy that helps improve the quality of life, but our patients weren't able to get in with physicians. So we accelerated this technology to make this available to our patients. So the result is a first of its kind application in the US that allows people to communicate with their doctors, ensure proper settings and functionality, and receive new treatment settings remotely. Since we've introduced NeuroSphere, more than 18,000 people in the US have signed up, and we're also in 19 countries worldwide. We know that we're saving a lot of travel time for our patients. We're helping caregivers. We know at least one person said they were willing to accept a new job because they knew they could be further away from their treating physician with the benefit of this technology. So it truly represents, I think, an evolution in healthcare where not only doctors can communicate effectively with their patients, And we create an environment where patients' implanted devices can be adjusted from hundreds of miles away, which is revolutionary.
I think being able to improve a patient's burden and just from a lifestyle is paramount, especially when we're thinking about clinical to commercial, improving adherence. And so these are the conveniences that digital health has created. And I think it's also an awareness that patients have now the ability to lean in and be engaged and bring your caregivers in. So extraordinary work to you, Rebecca, and your teams. We also think that where we talked about this as a disease management, right? And so really understanding a patient's complete fundamental comprehension of what they're signing up for also allows the bidirectional relationship between the patient, the physician, and the system. And so I think the more we have these types of tools, the more data that's generated, the better we can be able to manage our condition. So love hearing the story.
Yeah. And I will say, my mom is actually a patient, a Parkinson's patient. She has our devices and she's used virtual clinics. She travels over 2 hours away. And what she told me is like, I would dread those appointments because I knew I had to go off to meds. I knew we had to go in the night before and stay in a hotel because the roads aren't good in Wyoming in the winter. And so I have a personal connection and motivation to helping people like my mom get access to treatment.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, let's continue. I'm just getting goosebumps with like some of these outcomes that each one of you, as you're explaining your why, you're also talking about some of the impact you're making. Rich, I don't think we heard from you yet. If you'd like to share.
Sure. Thanks, Marianne. So Rich Brancaccio, I'm the founder and chief innovation officer at Revive Technologies, create the Focus RX. We are looking to improve ADHD, starting with pediatrics and eventually moving to the adult population. And it's a really important area to cover. It began for me working as a psychologist in the school system and just seeing a tremendous unmet need. And so I decided to do something about it. And the reason it's a big need is because 1 in 10 children are diagnosed with ADHD, but only 30% of families or more than 30% of families typically refuse ADHD drugs. So with 30% of children not getting a drug therapy and with many not being that excited about participating in a traditional therapy program, it leaves a huge gap. 32% of these kids wind up dropping out of high school. They're 11 times more likely to be unemployed, and they're 41% more likely to lose their job when they do find one. So we decided to build something that would really work harmoniously with children in the setting that they spend most of their time in every week, which is school. So we built a wearable device. It looks like this. It's based on a Samsung watch, and it's a digital therapeutic wearable device and a platform that create an end-to-end solution to treat and track ADHD in children without the need for drugs, although it certainly can be used in combination. And it utilizes proprietary algorithms that we've developed and AI to create personalized vibration therapy and hyperactivity tracking to not only help kids be more aware of what they're doing in the moment and to be more on task through metacognitive awareness, but we're also providing data that no one's ever collected before. And we did this in a unique pathway where we actually decided to begin direct to consumer and are now transitioning our product over to a prescription digital therapeutic. What that allowed us to do was it allowed us to garner more than 40,000 total users in our product portfolio across the first 2 products we've built. And we have more than 10 million hours of patient data that we can analyze and we've learned from. So we're taking this data and we're trying to make things better for the patients themselves, their families, the physicians and pharma companies who are all there to serve them.
Well, I'm just going to be more curious to talk to you later this week of how it could be applied for other means. If it's this effective for behavioral pivots in children, I will say, having 2 kids of my own during the pandemic, I think digital was more of the motivator. Forget candy, forget anything else, but it really creates this self-awareness where it really is effective, right? And you see it as a parent. And so, hats off to you being able to help manage ADHD. And I also love the fact that we have many here that are serving in the pediatric therapeutic area, a growing area for us to provide different therapies for the young generation ahead. Okay, Ms. Prem, love to hear from you about what Viz AI is doing.
Thanks, Marianne. Just to give a quick intro, I lead our clinical strategy at Viz AI, and really our mission at Viz is to increase access to life-saving treatments. At the heart of this, and our founding story was really born out of a concern that where there's greatest need in healthcare, there's often process delays. We started in stroke care, where we recognized that there were substantial issues with care coordination gaps that resulted in delays in time to treatment. So knowing that, stroke affects over 800,000 people in the US every year, and it's a leading cause of disability, this was a huge area of focus where our founders were very ingrained and had personal stories with that, as well as myself, with family members that are afflicted by stroke. What we've seen with the implementation of the Viz technology, it's been implemented in over 1,400 hospitals. And what that essentially means is that we've been able to help 1.3 million patients receive better stroke care, which is about one scan every 13 seconds. The outcomes that we've seen in hospitals that have implemented this technology is that we've been able to identify significant time savings to treatment. So at least an hour saved, an improvement in length of stay for patients that are hospitalized, so saving up to 3.5 days of time, and a significant reduction in disability for patients that have the ability and the opportunity to receive treatment and access to care earlier. With that, we were lucky enough where the CMS recognized the substantial clinical impact we were able to have and granted us the new technology add-on payment. So given that, having that available to hospitals across the US really made a significant impact in terms of the access that we were able to provide in both urban and rural areas, and the vast number of patients we were able to provide stroke care to.
Wow. I actually just see, as I'm taking notes from each and every one of you, you all may need to connect together, because I feel there's synergies of helping each other with some of your transformative technologies. So thank you for sharing. When we talked about earlier, what are the benefits of digital health technologies, and having the FDA also endorse and encourage with 500 AI algorithms were approved earlier this year. Being able to, many of you have talked about improved efficiencies, improved access, reducing costs, improving quality, personalizing that experience. I'll get to some of that questions, right? Is that we are continuously improving the disease understanding through efficiencies. And also, I think there's a new lens of understanding, how do we interpret that data? There's volume and velocity of that data. And, certainly I think it allows us as technology innovators to provide that back to the chief medical officers or leading scientists to understand, now that we have this information much earlier, how do we want to change that care journey for those patients? And so let's continue. So Mr. Eric, I don't believe we've heard from you yet. You want to unmute?
Hi, Marianne. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm the CEO at Biocorp. We're a French company, and we've been developing the first-in-class system to connect pen injectors, mainly for insulin patients. So we are serving a population of approximately 60 million patients that on a daily basis are performing themselves an injection. And for the one who are diabetic patient, who have diabetic patient in their family, that's a very complicated disease where a patient would have to take multiple decisions per day. And our mission at Biocorp is really to help those patients making better decisions. There's obviously a direct link between our system and existing system for the diagnosis of the blood glucose level of patient. And then based on that blood glucose level, people are going to decide the number of units of insulin or potentially GLP-1 drugs that are pretty well known at the moment to perform injection on a daily basis. And that's super complicated, and there's a lot of complexities that happens for patients. So my first mission is to help patients alleviate that pain and complexities on a daily basis. And hopefully, since we've been rolling out a product in Europe, in the US, in a couple of countries as well in Asia, we've been able to see that we're improving the way patients are managing insulin, improve also efficiency in the way HCP and nurses are able to interact with patients to better understand what's happening. Why did you miss your dose? Why did you underdose or overdose? And ultimately, there's a lot of things as well that we are intended to prove on the efficiency of care. So all of these topics that we have been raising just before and are definitely the consequences of our only objective and main objective is to serve patient and making sure patient will use our technology on the long run.
Literally reducing pain. I mean, that's fundamental. But yeah, and globally, it sounds like. Yeah, I think as we create more convenience, I think we may have more adherence to the prescribed journey. And so I think what lies ahead is we continue to create that convenience in the palm of our hands, and some of the wearables I was hearing, some of the access. I want to continue on this exciting update. Mr. Iran, if you'd like to share with us.
Hello, everyone, and it's a real pleasure to be with all the amazing people on this call. So first, as you can hear from the accent, I'm originally from Israel, moved to Boston 7 years ago, and before that served as an F-16 pilot in the Israeli Air Force, and after suffering from a whiplash injury due to the active flight and the G-forces, the idea came about to combine virtual reality and rehab. That's how the company started. Today, fast forward, we have over 150 virtual therapeutic rooms or therapeutic applications for a variety of use cases, from pain management, stress, anxiety, PTSD, and a very comprehensive solution. We have our own virtual clinics where we are treating patients remotely using our virtual reality devices and basically shipping those headsets to patient home. We are also partnering up with different hospitals around the world, completed over 500,000 VR treatments to date, conducting a VR treatment every 7 minutes on average now. Over 50 clinical trials from a variety of use cases showing how effective virtual reality is for a variety of use cases. And we truly believe this technology will be profound and will be first adopted at scale in healthcare, mainly because of two main reasons. One is that all of us that are suffering from a disease or an injury needs the multidisciplinary type of approach, and virtual reality is a combination of technology that allow you to harness the mind to treat the body, because we can transport patient to different types of scenarios, and clinicians can manipulate different types of environments to create different types of engagements. And it also creates a very powerful experience for patients. No one want to be sick, and no one want to be in a situation where they constantly being reminded about their situation. And this technology allows them to escape for a period of time, but also allows clinicians to constantly monitor their progress. Once someone is putting on a VR headset, they are basically stepping into a computer, which allows us to constantly measure everything that is happening within that environment, and then allows the clinician, again, to manipulate and measure outcomes in a way that are very comprehensive and react based on the different type of results that they're seeing.
Amazing. And I love the personalized journey, right? Where you've been able to, being in the shoes of someone suffering, to create ways of engaging in a meaningful way that may even improve the way they think about their disease management. It really goes back to this definition of why the Galien Foundation has defined this disease management, is because there's clearly more evidence that we need to collect, more data points, more digital biomarkers, more ability to understand how we're treating. And I even heard earlier alternative ways. So maybe it's not a pill or a patch. Maybe it's more of a digital therapeutic. Maybe it's more care, right? And so we continue to expand that. Miss Shalaj, if you can join us and also share with us your innovation from your organization.
Thank you so much. My name is Shalja Dixit. I'm a physician by training and CEO and founder of Curio Digital Therapeutics. We focus on women's mental and behavioral health across their journey. Our first flagship product, actually, the first product we are focusing on is perinatal mood disorder and postpartum depression. Part of it came, I've spent a lot of time as a physician, but this one was actually my own personal journey. When I had my first child, after going through medical school and a lot of training, I did not have the right help. And, when I realized very quickly that me being a physician, I understand what's going on, but still the part of it was stigma, the part of it was lack of having ready access. And that was the motivation behind creating Curio as a digital platform that can first take care of the stigma aspect, but then access and creating a personalized journey for women when they want it and meeting them where they are. So that's what Curio is all about. Our first product, I'll talk more about that, focusing on perinatal mood disorder and postpartum depression. Unfortunately, in US, it is about third leading cause of death within 1 year of delivery. I mean, it used to be first top 10, but in last few years, as we know, mental health has become so prominent and the incidence has increased so much. This has become top 3 leading causes of death. 1 in 5 women suffer, from postpartum depression. And the risk is about 40% of the pregnant women have some kind of perinatal anxiety disorder, from postpartum blues to all the way postpartum psychosis and even severe. Unfortunately, 2023, we have seen some high profile, not in a good way, deaths that even happened in our Northeast area. Even a physician at Mount Sinai, she committed suicide. She was herself a physician and killed her children as well. So it has a devastating effect, and that's what Curio is all about. First, we help using our AI tool in early identification. So we are able to predict a woman who is at high risk as early as second trimester. Then we are able to provide them a digital first access, as you rightly said, making sure there is access to everyone. We are collecting those digital biomarkers and footprint to identify these women very early on. And frankly speaking, it takes care of stigma. I wish I had a tool like that where I didn't have to go out and talk to people, because there is a stigma, there is a time constraint for a new mom. And believe it or not, most of the logins happen at 1 a.m. in the morning. Those of us who have been close to a mom or have been a mom, I'm sure we have one person in our life who we have seen go through this journey, or we have ourselves gone through this journey. You all will relate to 1 p.m. login, because possibly she's having insomnia or a colicky baby and whatnot, and you don't have any care at that time. So we provide a very personalized AI-driven journey for that woman who's able to take care of their symptoms, depression, anxiety. And I know we are going to talk about clinical outcomes in a little bit, but we have been able to bend the curve for 3 out of 5 women who get on our platform and get them down below the diagnosable, postpartum depression. So that's what it is. We are trying to have an impact, making sure that 75% of women who are diagnosed in US who don't have any care, because we have shortage of therapists, we are able to give them early access to digital platform, which is AI and technology based. So that's our journey. Trying to have an impact.
Outstanding. I think, as I continue to hear the stories amongst you all, we're redefining the future of health with some of these outcomes. There's no wonder why the regulatory agencies are increasing the approval to use these AI-powered endpoints using digital health technologies, with over 60% of the 1,300 pharma companies looking to create radical improvements in how they're measuring digital endpoints and secondary endpoints. We know that over 10 therapeutic areas represent 82% of using these digital technologies. And so, again, it's such an exciting way of seeing how we're accelerating time to diagnosis, being able to create de-risking of clinical trials. I think the future is really about curating now all this data. And so I actually want to ask the question to Mr. Alexander, who I know defining digital health is near and dear to your heart. Willie, please share with us some of the things that you're doing and making an impact in the space that we're talking about.
Thank you, Marianne. My name is Dr. Alexander Iftin, and our IntelliWave device, FDA cleared and now intensively on the market for long COVID patients. Long COVID means side effect after COVID-19. Actually, by New York Times information, only in New York State, only 100,000 patients suffered by long COVID cases. And the most important is to recognize dysautonomia related with long COVID, because by clinical evidence, there is mostly neurological disorders, first of all related with sympathetic activation, as a result, number of clinical issues. And now in IntelliWave, it's actually only one in the world device which can provide real-time monitor of autonomic function. There is because a lot of speculation on this point, but this is a real device which can do this, and now clinically use it very, very intensively. I would like to say a couple of words about digital health. Our scientific concept for digital health is first component is recognizing level of pathophysiological development. By school medicine, we learn about any pathology related, first of all, with damage of parasympathetic receptors. We do recognize decrease of parasympathetic activity as a marker of level of pathophysiological development. Our system quantitatively recognizes a level of pathology. -1 decrease parasympathetic means slight level of pathophysiological development, -2 moderate, -3 significant, -4 severe level of pathophysiological development. And our idea for digital health, first of all, self-care about your level of pathology, which anybody can recognize it by themselves, because we have a iPhone application, Stress and Wellness, available on App Store, and people can use just a place around the chest, very famous polar belt, use it for sport, but polar belt is highly accurate, provide 2000 sampling rate, means highly accurate measurement. And as a result, our system use artificial intelligence, why its work highly accurate. No, but now not modern artificial intelligence 2023. We use a theory of the frames published in MIT 1974. A little bit old stuff, but working perfectly. It means 10,000 doctors now use it, our wellness system. And actually, bottom line, we have a first component is self-assessment of level of pathological development, because we have so many cases related with situation when patient get decrease of parasympathetic activity, which means definitely damage of parasympathetic receptors affected by some disease, but people do not know what's going on there.
And I have to say, Dr. Alexander, what you said that I think is profound is that you put this technology in the hands of patients that could be able to quantitatively understand that disease management and then create the ability to understand how to effectively move on in their care journey. And so I think that's incredibly exciting. I think that's the underlining theme of what I'm hearing, from all of you, right? Is this radical shift, right? Where either your digital solutions, whether they're used to understand a disease management, whether they're in the clinical setting or the commercial healthcare setting, whether they're able to speed or improve accuracy, because I'm hearing a lot of stats in terms of that improvement and how we're really ensuring the treatment can be recognized. And despite the fact that the recent publication earlier this year that the cost of drug development is now $6.1 billion, we do need the innovation from these leaders that I'm hearing on today's call and others, that you are able to create novel ways of creating insights, of evidence, of creating more precision. And I will say, as we go into the next just few minutes of our panel, I'm going to ask 2 questions, and I will do a round robin, so you could choose the question here. Is, there are too few industries that you can make such a phenomenal impact. And I think in healthcare, in life sciences, we have that opportunity. We have that opportunity to understand and give a patient confidence, right? That they got diagnosed with something that they may have not realized. And now I am hearing you're putting convenience in the hands of patients and their caregivers. And I'd love to hear from the panelists about if there's a measurable impact that you can cite. And even, I want to hear failures too. Where you were able to maybe have a best practice. Maybe if you were able to work and create a concept to market from authorization, any lessons, I think. I have this, my son's birthday was last week, and I said, you don't lose in life, you win or learn. And I think it's true, right? And you need to really make sure that as leading innovators in this space, we want to learn from each other so we can innovate and create, not only effectively accelerating therapies to patient faster, but improving a healthier world. So let's do a round robin, and let's I'm going to start off from the top of my list here as I see you guys. Dr. Dennis, if you can start us off, please.
Sure. I think measurable is key. I think having an understanding of how the tools that you build can make the impact is critical. We built Canvas DX because the wait time to get access to an autism diagnosis is over 18 months. And by the time kids are getting diagnosed, they're past windows of brain development where the behavioral therapies can have the biggest impact. So the first step was for us to create a system that would go faster without loss of accuracy. In fact, improve accuracy. And the best way to do that was to utilize artificial intelligence that can be trained on more clinical cases than hundreds of clinicians can see in their lifetime, to be able to act quickly within primary care settings, or even in conjunction with home settings and primary care settings, acting as a collaborator with general pediatricians who don't normally perform the task of diagnosis, but they are significantly more common than specialists who do perform the tasks today, but have waiting lists that exceed 500 kids, 3,000 kids in some places. And that's why those wait times are 18 months. So the measurable outcome was to start building something that we could get through clinical authorization. Canvas was successful in that regard. We got it through the FDA as a de novo device. This is significantly more challenging than a 510K submission because it's the first ever to go through for any kind. It was something that had never been done before. There was not yet, up until Canvas, a diagnosis approved by the FDA, a diagnostic system approved by the FDA for autism. Not just autism, but autism as distinct from other common developmental delays. So that was key. The other part of the system that's important is that it's a digital phenotype. It describes the child at that moment in time, but can track with the child as the child progresses. And so we can measure outcomes. We can determine that the child's improving, and if not, make changes to the behavioral therapies that are provided to that child. That is key. One more thing I'll just say, it's not just about getting through the FDA, it's about then getting on medical policies, getting covered by insurance, getting covered by Medicaid, Medicaid, Medicare, whatever it might be, so that you can reach everyone equitably. And that's something that we've been striving to do and have successfully started have started succeeding with. It's a challenging road to go down, right? To walk the path of communicating and getting on medical policies with a diversity of the payers that are out there in our United States healthcare system. But it's critical in order to be able to address this unmet need. And the more that we do it together, I think the more that we can pioneer the entry of digital health into the marketplace in a way that's affordable and equitable, which we believe Canvas DX is.
And so as we continue to share some of these insights, please feel free to leverage each other's comments in your 2-minute round. In closing, I will say this is, I think, we want to measure what matters. And when we understand the improvement that we're making, it also allows us to empower that knowledge to both regulatory agencies as well as providers, right? To understand the evidence of the data that we're collecting. Eric, you're on next on my list, please.
Yes, I think the comments that were made are perfectly fair and adapted. I think to the setup. I think we are. The industry in general is looking for evidence of what will be the ultimate impact of the great digital solution that we are building together. I think in our life as innovator. Going through the regulator has been a significant challenge, even more if you're considering some new barriers or new regulations such as cybersecurity that are coming along the way. But I think that's definitely important items, but very challenging elements and the agencies in general needs to provide visibility of what will happen in the next couple of years. I think the FDA in that regard offers way more predictability now on what's the future guidance and what the areas in which they will be working on. But I think in the notion of evidence is not always easy, I believe, for smaller companies to generate those level of evidence before getting those products already on the market, being used by patients and in a setting that could be comparable to what will happen in real life. So I think the setup of clinical trials that you can have in drugs or certain type of medical device are difficult to apply in the setting of digital health. So there's certainly some thought to be put around how we can evaluate in real life those devices before getting them covered or reimbursed to a larger extent. I think that setup is not yet existing in most of the countries we've been working on, and super excited to see progress in those areas that will ultimately benefit the patient.
I think it starts here. The more we're sharing as evidence, I think we'll help each other out, right? So Rebecca, can you share yours as well, your perspective?
Sure. So when we launched Virtual Clinic, we wanted a global solution with high impact. And like I mentioned, over 18,000 patients in the US have signed up. We've had thousands of sessions. So when I think about professionally the impact it's had, patients with implants have not been able to have their implants adjusted remotely before this point. So yes, you could meet with a physician, you could talk about your symptoms, but to actually have your implant adjusted remotely, there was a lot of technology that went into that, cybersecurity, privacy, and I think personally I've seen how that's helped my mother, who lives in a rural area in Wyoming, get access to care. How I think we'll see that expand is we can pull a lot of information and data that helps us better understand our patients and get better insights so that we can keep them in their treatment funnel and have the best outcome with their disease. These are progressive diseases that they have. We also know that we're pulling data that allows us to utilize AI and kinematic AI to maybe even diagnose patients sooner, recommend different treatment options, and keep them in successful treatment. So I'm just really excited for the continued innovation in this field and how we're contributing to digital health solutions with people with debilitating health conditions, really regardless of where they are. Because I think at Abbott, we think of access to care as very, very important. Regardless of, your income level or your proximity to specialists. So I'm really proud to be part of creating a solution like this, and I've seen its impact personally. So it's just very exciting.
Yeah, throughout my journey, I will say, as I'm listening to all of you, as I've rolled out several different digital technologies and sit on the board of several AI companies right now, I think the rules and tools go together. So as you're innovating, what are the processes and change? What are we eliminating now? And what can we fast track? And we're introducing a new orchestration layer of data. And I think that's what is so exceptionally exciting, because we're able to get data around patients earlier and often. And so I just think it changes the future of health. Um, Ms. Prem, you can share with us as well some of the outcomes that you're seeing or lessons learned that you may want to share.
Yeah, thank you, Marianne. I think, what this is really trying to do is create a system of action that can help support various care pathways. We started early in stroke, recognizing that time is brain and that time to treatment is so crucial and critical. What we've done is now expand to other disease states and areas where they may be a little bit more non-acute, where, patients may have a cerebral aneurysm that is not detected or identified early enough, where it can still lead to high morbidity and mortality. And those patients still need to be caught within the system to allow for management and navigation. So I think the goal as we're trying to develop, these systems of action, it's really that any patient that comes in, whether they have a scan, an imaging, a test, the VIS algorithm will run, it'll detect the relevant disease, send out an alert to the care team so that they can make the right assessment and navigate the patient to the right care pathway. And that's one of the key things that we're really focused on, is expanding access, again, across all disease states, acute and non-acute, so that we continue to allow for our health team members to have the information that's necessary to make those critical decisions for those patients. I think, as we continue to evolve treatments and therapeutics, it'll be interesting to see the different care pathways that come out. But our goal is to support our providers in providing them with that relevant information, again, to allow for that timely management of those patients.
Amazing. Great. Matthew, Rich, if you want to share some of your results in terms of how you've been able to take your products to market, especially I've been hearing some personal journeys in your opening remarks.
Yeah,
sure. You'll start.
Okay, yeah. So I'll be slightly provocative here. This is true. We need evidence. This is true. We need to get in touch with payers and all the stakeholders. But really what we're facing is, and that's possibly the view I have coming from Europe, is that we talk about saving life, making women less anxious about going to do their mammogram. But in the end, the only thing that really counts is, the pure effectiveness, the money part of things. This is the only thing that moves things. Nobody wants to pay to find more cancer or quicker or faster. We have to go around. The way we are winning users is by saying, well, if you use our tool, you'll be more efficient. It will cost you less money to process all these cases. And people start using it. And as a consequence, you'll find more cancer. But the thing that comes forward is not, doing good or finding more cancer earlier, is saving money or making more money if you read more per hour. So slightly cynical maybe here, but I think we all fight for good. We all have personal stories, and this is sometimes a bit of a wake-up call when you face the reality of the market. Is that we all here to do good, but the rest of the society is not necessarily ready, or there are a lot of resistance in trying to help and start using our wonderful solutions.
Yeah, let's continue this provocative theme, right? Because I like getting into this as well. So many of you guys are trailblazers in your respective journeys. You may either have created your first of its kind. You've been able to establish evidence, and through that leadership journey does require championing and creating ecosystems of innovators, and also partnering with the regulatory as well as the provider. So you're understanding that data exchange, it cannot be done alone. It needs to be done through, I applaud the Galien Foundation for bringing leaders like us together, because that is how change happens. It doesn't happen overnight. This is an evolution. Science has been traditionally an evolution since its concept, and now digital health will also go through that. And so I completely agree. The one thing I encourage everyone to say in their final remarks is, as we're introducing a new piece of innovation, you've been able to reduce a burden, and that burden had a cost. And so, I encourage in some of the statements I'm hearing, how have you been able to manage that challenge that Matthew just said, right? So who's going to pay for it, right? And how are we going to justify that? Because that's part of the battle in terms of innovating. And so I'm seeing some nods. So just go ahead and speak up, because just get in there, unmute and go.
I'll piggyback on what Matthew said. I think most of us here come from some kind of a clinical background, a medical profession. We're all in the helping world, but it gets real very quickly when you start to partner and work with some pharmaceutical companies, payers. And what's interesting to me is what we've done at Revive with Focus RX is we have some great metrics. We're seeing 70 to 20% improvements over baseline. We're matching a digital therapeutic is on par or commensurate with some non-stimulant drugs, which is to us a feat in and of itself. But I think to Matthew's point is, when you need to have somebody step up and write a check to move your technology, your therapy to the next level and to commercialize it, the question that you're going to receive from people, which is an appropriate one, is how will this technology or this device pay for itself? How does it make us better than we were yesterday? And so I think for us personally at Revive, we've found that by looking to what we can do, not just in our little niche in terms of improving attention, which can save money in and of itself, apart from drugs, how do we use the data that we collect to make people better, smarter, faster? Maybe it's in drug development. So I implore everybody here to think outside of the box in terms of, you have your own niche, your own therapy, but how can you take what you created digitally, technologically, and reach out to help each other, to help different facets of what we all do, which could be medicine, it could be patients directly, it could be the people who are formulating small molecule. Think about how to use that data, and I think that's an important step to get our technologies to really become widespread.
Yeah.
If I may add to what Rich and Matthew were just saying, I think it's so important, as Rich rightly said, many of us have lived in healthcare system before we became entrepreneurs and took this journey. So we understand the complexity, and healthcare is conservative, like slow to adopt technology, rightly so, right? Because you're talking about patient life and whatnot. So there's nothing negative that why healthcare is so slow. They're slow because there is a reason. We are dealing with lives here versus, gaming, like other kind of technology. So what we learned, like although we were able to show 80% improvement versus treatment as usual, and early access to a lot of things, 80% engagement and adherence, which does not even happen with pharmaceutical medication and whatnot. We very quickly found out, I'll talk more about the bumps, like there are a lot of positives, a lot of like data driven. We were also able to show a 5:1. So when we started talking to payers, to Matthew's point, the point was, show me the other side of equation, great clinical data, show me the number, like, where am I going to save? Because we cannot add more to it. We understand the problem. We understand that you're bringing something. So we had to conduct a study. We had to go to actuarials to do a ROI calculation. And we were able to show a 5:1 ROI calculation by doing that. So I think numbers talk. It is not easy, because there is not just one thing. You talk about adoption within physicians or clinical practice, you talk about regulators, you talk about evidence, and then you talk about the money part. So you have to take care of all of these aspects, which can be daunting. It's a step-by-step process, but unfortunately these things have to be done, because as a healthcare system, either we have more money, it's already strained in many ways, physicians are burned out. So second bump for us was, oh, you're telling me to now take on a new thing. I don't have, my staff cannot get trained on something new. I just have zero capacity. So we started offering some human coaches and tell them that, look, we understand that digital adoption will happen. Why don't we provide you with the coaches? We'll come to your clinic to help you with that adoption as well. So we need to, till we get to a point where we'll have full adoption, which is going to happen. We all are believers in digital. I think we'll have to just figure out like ways to fit into the system. I don't think so. Healthcare is an area where you can have a leapfrog change. There is a stepwise change that happens, and we'll have to make sure that we do that stepwise change.
Yeah. And so here's what I will say in the closing remarks. We are all taking a quantum leap together. And I elect you all to join me in the pledge where we're not only innovating to be able to drive efficiencies in the ability for drug development costs as well as healthcare, but also provide those patient outcomes that we can measure. And I think this is the radical shift between the digital health and precision health, where we're really making an impact. And I applaud you all. Congratulations again for being finalists of the Galien Week in Digital Health. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you on Thursday. And congratulations again. Well done.